So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about today how we are using or have the ability to use drones, ATAC, and a couple different software solutions to really make sure that a fire that we go on is out and doesn't become a problem later on. So first off, a little bit about me. I've been with the Corona Fire Department for 19 years now. I am our UAS manager. I manage a fleet. We actually are pretty lucky. We have a UAS on every fire engine in the city of Corona. We use the DJI Mavic 3 thermals. Like, everyone's trained to use them. On top of that, I also manage all of our TAC devices. We have roughly 75 devices between phones and tablets. Again, every fire engine that we have typically has at least 3 TAC devices on it. So we are well versed in TAC. And it all started back from my introduction to it back in 2019 when AJ brought it back from some of the wildfires and said, here's this really cool thing. Let's figure it out. How can we use it? All right, so in California, we have over 8,000 wildfires that burn across the state each year. So out there in California, we pretty much say that that's California's state bird. It's the air tanker. So fire season is a term that we use a lot. And fire season in California, it doesn't really end anymore. For those that are out in California, we know that it usually comes twice a year. You got your really hot, dry heat in the summertime, but this time, the fall, kind of early winter, we have a unique event where we get the Santa Ana winds, or those really dry, long sustained winds. So what does that mean for us when these fires come across? It's long days that blur into nights. We've got engines staged at the edge of canyons, the smell of smoke that doesn't quite ever wash out. It's fast-moving fire, unpredictable winds, and a constant race to try and stay one step ahead of a fast-moving fire, which is really just a force that doesn't rest. We train, we prepare for it, and when the hills light up, it's all hands on deck. Every spark is a threat. Every ember could mean another home, another life, another fight. But when the flames die down and the cameras leave, that's when the real work begins. So we call it Mop-Up. It's a long, dirty, painstaking process of making sure that the fire is truly out. It's crawling through blackened ground with hand tools, turning over smoldering logs and soaking hot spots till the hiss is gone. It's hot, it's slow, and it's often thankless. But it's what keeps the small victory from turning into tomorrow's large disaster. But we have to do it right. So let's talk about what caused the Palisades fire. It wasn't a down power line or a new ignition. It was a holdover fire. It's a powerful reminder that when Mop-Up isn't done completely, the fire's not over. It's just waiting for the next chance to ignite and consume. Fire is ruthless. Fire is relentless. It is destructive, and it is deadly. So we're going to start with the Lachman fire. We begin here because this is actually the root of our tragic but preventable tale. The area of the fire was known to be a very high risk due to years of vegetation growth and a prolonged drought, resulting in an abundance of fuel. It was just ready to burn. So on New Year's Day, a seemingly small brush fire broke out very early in the morning, started by an arsonist near a popular hiking trail. The crews suppressed it pretty quickly, and the forward progress was stopped in just a few hours. But what can't always be seen, heat underneath the surface, apparently lingered. What looks out may not actually be out, and the latent heat becomes our risk vector. So here's where the trigger builds. A major wind event was forecast just days after the Lachman fire was put out. We call them Santa Ana winds. Their red flag warning was issued January 6th for a significant wind event that was supposed to begin on January 7th, lasting for several days. In fact, the National Weather Service stated that this is a life-threatening windstorm. Gusts were expected to reach 60 to 80 miles an hour, with some areas, especially in the mountains, to hit 90 miles per hour. Meanwhile, There's subtle signs of smoke or smoldering in the prior burn area were observed. Several hikers and residents noted wisps of smoke and a smoky odor in that fire days prior to the Palisades fire breaking out. So now you have residual heat, increasing winds, and dry fuels. Yeah, that's pretty much the recipe for disaster. So the Palisades fire was devastating. It ignited in the same area as that early Lachman fire and ultimately spread through steep canyons into densely populated neighborhoods. In a matter of hours, thousands were evacuated, thousands of homes were destroyed, and 12 lives were lost. It became Los Angeles' most destructive fire in recent memory. But beyond the physical damage, the fire really revealed a hard truth. Even a small pocket of heat left unchecked can lead to catastrophic consequences. It reminded us all in the fire service that Mop-Up isn't just your final step. It's that line of defense between containment and catastrophe. So the question becomes, after seeing what happened in the Palisades fire, how is the Corona Fire Department making sure that doesn't happen in Corona? How are we using technology to confirm that every fire is truly out and no hidden heat is left behind to reignite later? Our approach combines UAS, thermal imaging, and TAC to verify extinguishment with data, not just assumptions. So before we dive into TAC and how we use our UAS, I want to give you a little bit of background about Corona. So we're about 35 miles southeast of downtown LA, you can kind of see on the map there. We're at a crossroads where Riverside, San Bernardino, Orange County, and Los Angeles County all meet. We call that area the solar area because it's San Bernardino, Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside. It's a complex wildland urban interface area that has to demand coordination between all these bordering mutual aid agencies. The city covers roughly 40 square miles. We have 160,000 residents. We're also a career fire department. We have 7 fire stations. We have 35 personnel on duty every day. We're all risk. We handle everything from wildfire, structure fire, hazmat response, and primarily we run medical aids. So we start out on Friday, July 25th of this year. A fast-moving brush fire ignited near Palisades Drive and Green River Drive, right along that solar response zone in Corona, late in the afternoon. This area is known for having a strong afternoon wind, as well as being in a canyon-like area. The fire prompted evacuation orders as crews hit it hard with ground and air resources from multiple agencies in that solar response plan. Fire was mapped at roughly 30 acres, with Corona Fire assuming command. Evacuations were lifted the next day, while containment steadily increased. The cause remained under investigation, but it was suspected to be the result of a homeless encampment fire. But this incident underscores how quickly a small start in your neighborhoods can escalate, and later, why rapid detection and targeted mop-up intelligence really matters. So let's talk again about that FIRIS program. FIRIS stands for Fire Integrated Real-Time Intelligence System. It's a California initiative that provides real-time aerial surveillance to support wildfire decision-making. Using these ISR aircraft equipped with advanced infrared and electro-optical sensors, FIRIS gives us live video feeds and produces highly accurate perimeter maps within minutes of them arriving on scene. And fortunately for the Corona Fire Department, a FIRIS aircraft just took off from our local airport as this fire was starting. They were en route to another fire out in the desert, but they were able to quickly divert, conduct our ISR surveillance mission, and give us our product outputs before they went to their initial mission. So, live full motion video provided initial intel to the ground crews during the firefight. It helped direct resources where the most active portions of the fire were, helped prevent extension of the homes above the hillside, but that valuable information contained well beyond the active firefight. The FIRIS flights produced perimeter polygons, which were published over KML network link, all able to be ingested into TAC just minutes after performing the flight. crews were able to knock down the fire with no damage reported to any structure and no injuries reported by any firefighter or civilian. Now, with the fire out, we had to go into Mop-Up. Without any additional intelligence, Mop-Up is slow, manual, sensory. The crews are going to be moving line by line through the black, relying on sight, touch, instinct to find hidden heat. As I mentioned before, they're going to be digging through the ashes with their tools. They're going to be turning over smoldering logs, putting out any hot spots, and they're going to be there for quite a while. So progress usually depends on experience, but even our seasoned firefighters can miss some pretty deep-seated embers. Any incident that's larger than a few acres, making sure that we verify every hot spot is cold, it can take hours or even days of very labor-intensive work. The result? Greater exposure to the firefighters, longer commitment of resources, and the lingering risk that that single unseen ember or hotspot could reignite, the entire hillside. Now, large-scale wildfires often utilize manned aircraft equipped with infrared sensors, and they produce great output hotspot maps like the one you see here. But when it comes to small incidents or even medium-sized incidents, we simply don't have the resources to call upon these costly and very resource-consuming items. So instead, we have to rely on different features. So instead of waiting for these costly aerial assets, we've brought that same infrared technology down to the local level, using our own thermal-equipped UAS to perform detailed hotspot mapping immediately after containment. So after the fire is contained, our fire department uses our Mavic 3 thermals. We conduct systemic infrared flights over the burn area. The missions are flown at a medium altitude, typically after dark, and we capture some pretty high-resolution thermal imagery that reveals any residual heat signatures that are invisible to the naked eye. Now, to make thermal mapping faster and more intuitive, the Corona Fire Department developed a custom flight planning app that integrates directly with TAC. Instead of manually programming flight parameters into the drone's native mission app, the user simply draws an area of interest on TAC and exports it. The app automatically generates a ready-to-fly UAS mission using parameters that are already optimized for wildfire mapping operations. The result? Significantly increased efficiency, reduced mission setup time from several minutes to just several seconds, all while ensuring we have a consistent altitude, overlap, camera configurations. By automating these technical steps, the pilot can focus on getting the critical data and not trying to program flight lines. So here's a real-time workflow of how UAS operations take basic intel, which is the fire risk perimeters there in green, to create a mission for a flight plan. So they're going to draw a polygon around that area of interest where we want to have a flight mapped. They're going to simply use ATAC to export that shape as a KML. And the great thing about TAC is it has its own designated export folder, so you know where all this stuff is going to live. We open this custom app, direct ourselves to that file that was just made, give it a simple mission name because we always want to identify what we're dealing with. And for simplicity, we just tell it to put it right back into that export folder. And you'll notice down at the bottom, now we have my flight parameters. Very simple. Are we going to do a 200 foot, a 400 foot, and what camera am I going to use? Finishing it automatically launches the DJI Pilot app. All I have to do is navigate to that file, tap on that import, and you'll see right here, as it pulls up, I have a flight plan that is already made. I'll open up the details on the side and just to verify, but you can see that it's going to be the IR camera. I've already got my ground sampling set, my altitude is set, maximum speed, and it's already set to distance interval shots. So I know my overlap is going to be perfect. So now, we use a software platform called Nova to take the data that we collect in the field and turn it into actionable intelligence. Once our post-fire thermal flight is complete, we bring that imagery straight off the Mavic 3 thermal into the Nova platform. Each image contains the embedded GPS and radiometric data So Nova already knows exactly where each pixel came from and how hot it is. The upload process is fairly quick. We simply drag the mission folder right into the Nova workspace, and the system just starts processing automatically. Now, Nova uses some advanced thermal analysis algorithms to evaluate the infrared luminosity. They identify subtle variations in heat that may or may not be visible to even standard IR palettes. Those temperature anomalies are classified as potential hotspots, which Nova then plots onto geo-referenced orthomosaic maps. So within just minutes, we can actually visualize the entire burn area in an interactive map where every hotspot is clearly marked. From there, that map can be directly exported into TAC via a KML and shared with field crews, allowing us to direct mop-up operations with pinpoint accuracy instead of guesswork. So once Nova processes the thermal imagery, we're not just looking at pretty heat maps. We've got actionable intelligence at this point. With those hotspots directly exported into TAC, those ground crews can start conducting better mop-up. Since each hotspot is geo-referenced, when the firefighter looks at that device in the field, they see exactly where they need to go to do a final check. So thermal imagery that's processed through Nova can also reveal hidden hotspots that even experienced crews or aerial observers might overlook. The software detects those subtle heat signatures that blend into the environment or remain buried beneath ash or soil or debris. And these smoldering areas often escape detection during initial ground sweeps. Once they're mapped, they stand out very clearly in that thermal mosaic. So in this section, highlighted by the purple box, Nova actually identified multiple residual heat sources that were not detected by the fire's aircraft or the initial ground crews during suppression. The hotspots were buried beneath surface ash, invisible to the naked eye, and below the detection threshold of the standard infrared scans. And the ground crews actually confirmed that this was a true hotspot when they did their targeted mop-up operation the next morning. So instead of combing through hundreds of yards of black, crews can now go straight to the problem areas, saving time, conserving water, and reducing their exposure to those health hazards. Corona Fire Department mop-up crews have actually reported exceptional accuracy from this process, confirming that nearly every hotspot that was mapped corresponded to a legitimate heat source on the ground. So this has pretty much changed the way that we do targeted mop-up from a wide area, time-intensive, heavy labor operation to a targeted, data-driven strategy that makes the job faster, safer, and more efficient. So now, 72 hours after the green fire was knocked down, the UAS flights were conducted, and only 10 hotspots were picked up by Nova. Each of these 10 spots were inspected by our ground crews and determined to be rocky areas that had been holding on to some heat, mostly from solar heating, because you can remember this was like the middle of summer in Southern California. So this process didn't just save time, it gave us verifiable proof that the fire line was cold, something that traditional methods rarely offer with this level of certainty. Secondary result, less man hours, resulting in decreased personnel and equipment costs were spent on mop-up with pretty much a greater confidence level that the job was done. So beyond thermal hotspot detection, Nova gives us actually a suite of tools that extend situational awareness to any agency, even those not using TAC. The platform can generate some high-resolution orthomosaic maps, blend visual thermal imagery into a single geospatially accurate product. Maps can even be annotated and exported as PDFs, allowing incident commanders to label their hotspots, division breaks, or any other critical locations before they publish. And for seamless collaboration, Nova offers QR code sharing, enable crews, partner agencies, EOCs to instantly access the latest maps with no special software required. This flexibility makes sure that any cooperating agency can obtain this intelligence with or without TAC. So, as we close, I want to bring back why this matters. When we talk about missed heat, we're not just talking about a few smoldering embers. We're talking about the potential for disaster This unchecked residual heat can reignite days, even weeks later. And when it does, it's not always a small rekindle. It is potentially another full-scale incident. Results can be devastating. Millions in losses, destroyed homes, damaged ecosystems, and lives put at risk, including the firefighters who are now back to a scene that they thought was initially safe. So the Palisades fire was 100% preventable. Lives were lost, homes were destroyed, and priceless memories were erased by the destructive flames. This is the cost of not doing it right. Every hotspot left behind is a potential ignition source, and all it takes is the right wind, the right fuel, and just a few minutes to undo days, weeks of hard work that were put into the initial containment effort. So the tools that we've talked about today, TAC, NOVA, and our UAS, they give us the ability to remove any of that uncertainty of, is it out? It's not just efficiency. It's accountability, confidence, prevention. The cost of software is measurable. The cost of rekindled wildfire, that's something we don't ever want to have to pay again. So with that, I'm going to give you guys my contact information. You got my email, my phone number, as well as my GitHub repo to that app that was made for the UAS mapping. Right now I have it set to only work for 3 aircraft because I made it very aircraft specific because that's one less button that someone has to push. So if you've got a Mavic 3 thermal, you've got an M300 350, or you've got a Mavic 4 thermal, it's already built for you, ready to go. And the source code's there. If you want to make it do something different, help yourself. So I'm going to finish with, I believe in the absolute value that TAC brings to any public safety entity. And to quote the TAC syndicate godfather himself, TAC is the way. So we've got about 5 minutes. If anyone have any follow-up, any questions on how we've done things, or...
First of all, that's astounding innovation, and it comes out of a firehouse? Did you guys, was this grassroots, kitchen table, hey, we ought to be doing this sort of thing? Or did you get leadership above you going, we have a problem, we don't want to be in the press?
That it is 100% driven from, in our organization, we tend to push from the ground up, but fortunately our top leaders share the vision that we have, and when we come to them with something, it's usually like, all right, how can we support you? How can we help you? Because we've already proven time and time again that these ideas we bring them are something that save lives, they save property, they make a difference.
But is this a reflection of your leadership's commitment to this, that they fund and allow members of the agency to come and share the expertise with the broader community? So I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to the team. So I have some questions, but first let me give you guys the opportunity. Who would like to pose a question on this kind of remarkable technology?
Jason Esterline with Help Now Project out of Florida. Mike, what a great presentation. You guys are definitely on the cutting edge. Seeing what happened with the Palisades fire previous to your guys' fire that you showed, I mean, do you see what you guys are doing? Is that going to be adopted, do you think, in larger departments like LA Fire Department, things like that?
Absolutely. I think because of that, and the technology is now widely known, you're going to start seeing SOPs come out to where this will be a required item after certain fires.
That was my question. Doggone it. I think it's remarkable. And let me ask, is your agency unique in actually putting the technology on each piece of apparatus and then training and expecting the crews to be able to operate the technology?
So far, from what I've heard, we are very unique in that. When I talk to other agencies on how we've deployed, but there's a UAS on every fire engine. We've gone through a training program. I've filed a COA for our entire operating area, and we have trained and certified every single firefighter that we have to be a COA pilot and fly under some tighter restrictions. But at any time, anyone can pick up a drone and fly. It's not something that is typically seen by any other department, and I hope that changes.
My agency puts it on the CAD, so you always see in the call, oh, UAS is part of the assignment because it's a, this level of response. I've never seen anything show up with that kind of thing. So what do? We call the law enforcement. They know how to fly drones.
We try to treat it no different than, a chainsaw. It's a tool. It's a tool for you to use, and with the right training, it can be done effectively, efficiently, and safely.
The Nova, is Nova off-the-shelf software, or is this something that was bespoke, created for the agency?
No, this is off the shelf. They are a commercial program. They're actually rapidly growing. We're seeing lots of fire agencies already adopting their software, especially in Southern California. Post Palisades fire, it is really gaining some traction. But yeah, they've been out for quite a while now.
Alrighty,
Hey, Mike, Ralph Kohler from, I guess, AFRL. Mike, I'd like to challenge you. You said, hey, it saves a lot of time and a lot of money. Of course, we wish things worked on accountability and lives, but the budget people want to know about the money. Maybe you don't know, but I'd love to see a report from you guys that says how much time and how much money and how much more responsive you are. I think that would be great for the whole environment in helping us adopt things. And then I have a follow-up question. Would you be better off if you could do this even faster than the loop you just described?
Absolutely.
Or is it because you're flying it at night and you're not doing hotspot putting out at night, so it doesn't matter?
So typically, this is it's not a rapid process. It is, at this point, the fire has, for lack of a better term, it's been put out. Now we need to make sure it stays out. So it is a very slow, methodical portion, a task at this time. There's no need for urgency, but there's definitely ways to optimize. Anytime I can get an operator to have to do less button pushes, less things to do, challenge to the UAS tool guys. I would love to do my flight mapping all in UAS tool for the DJI. I would love just to be able to do that polygon and say, go map it and be done, but we're not there.
And then you'd like to have the results before you land and have them right into TAC right away.
Yep.
This is why we like Ralph.
Yeah. Now, I will say real quick, so you mentioned the cost thing, and the one thing that's very hard with any of this stuff is you can't really measure the cost of the damage that never happened because of the software. You'll never know what fire didn't burn, what houses didn't go, what lives weren't lost. So that's the hard part to really articulate to those that are looking at the bottom line.
Alrighty. Well, please join me in thanking Mike for giving us a peek at the future as it should be.